What are the first things you need to know when getting into management? Now, when I started management when I was about 23. I actually started out in retail. So I've been in management for about 10 years now. It's quite a while, and through that point I have managed, I don't know quite how many people, but a lot. And I've had some ups and downs, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've made a lot of things that have gone my way. I've had bits of luck, and I've had bits of bad luck as well. I think the thing is, when you first get into management though, there's a lot of different noise from different people to say to you what you should listen to, what you shouldn't listen to, how you should play it, what a good manager is, what a bad manager is. And it's very difficult to kind of isolate what type of manager you should be. So realistically, I looked around and I thought, well, what would I want and what advice would I give to someone when starting out in management, having had a decade's or over a decade's worth of experience now on the subject, being a manager to many people and having developed different people and seeing what works and what doesn't work and looking at the actual basics, so I can give you guys what you should be doing when you start out in management at a basic level. So here are my tips when you start out being a manager, what you should be looking to do and what you should avoid doing. So I wrote down 4 things. The first one is objectives. So when coming into management, you're going to have objectives no matter what type of job or in management you take up or what line of management you're in. You will have set objectives. Some will call them targets or whatever, but basically you will be given objectives by your superiors of which you will be judged against to achieve. Now you therefore need to make decisions first and foremost in line to achieve those objectives. When you come into management, management isn't about being the boss. It isn't about bossing people around, having control, power, whatever. Ignore all those things. They're all things that you might see in the movies or whatever, or be told. They're bad examples. You need to work to your objectives. And therefore, if you're going to get those objectives done, the first thing you've got to remember is that you need the people around you to want to help you to do those objectives. No manager is going to be a very good manager if they need to do everything themselves. If you're that kind of manager that goes, right, I've got to do this myself, I've got to do that myself, I've got to lead from the front, and nobody else does anything, you're really going to struggle. A good manager is able to delegate, able to sit there and pass out tasks that need to be done, and able to get things executed without them first-hand doing it. That is delegation, that's the art of delegation. If you're going to get any objectives done, you need to be able to work out to do that. And you've got to be able to make sure that the people around you are capable of doing it. All about objectives, and all of the decisions you need to make when starting out as a manager need to be in line with achieving those objectives, because that's ultimately what you're gauged against. Your superiors aren't bothered about how you manage people, they're not bothered about how you interact, what training you offer, any of those things. They're interested in, can you achieve the set objectives that I'm asking you to do? Because the chances are their boss will be asking them to achieve set objectives. If you are doing your part in achieving those set objectives, you're making your boss's life a lot easier. Ultimately, that's going to be a pretty good start for you. The second thing I wrote down is positioning. Now, positioning is an interesting one. Basically, when people come into management and people think of a boss, they often think of someone who's, in charge, telling people what to do. But if you've worked in an environment and you have a boss who's sitting there telling you, you need to do this or you need to do that, that's it, and you're thinking, I really don't want to work for this person. Do you think realistically that putting yourself in the shoes of the manager, that person's going to do their best for you to hit your objectives? Probably not. You need to get those people on side, and you need to position yourself correctly with different people around you. Some people, they will need a firmer hand. They will need to sit there and you to be someone who's definitely a kind of parent-child relationship. But some people, if you have that kind of relationship with them, it will just work against you. They won't want to know, they won't have a good feel about you, they won't get on with you, they'll rebel against you, it'll be difficult. So you need to position yourself and play yourself differently to different people. Probably wearing, when they talk about different hats, you need to wear different hats. So some people, you need to sit there and be more assertive, make sure you're on them a little bit more. Some people, if you did that, as I say, it's going to be a big kind of turn off to them. They won't like you particularly very much, and you'll just alienate the staff. So you need to find a way of positioning yourself correctly with different people in order to get them to help you to reach those set objectives. You need to be able to press the right buttons to get them to do certain things. Some would look at this as motivation, basically. How do you motivate certain staff? You've got to bear in mind, with most staff that you'll ever employ, they're not necessarily going to walk in and want to work as hard as you. That's the first thing you need to understand. They're coming there, they're paid to do a particular job for a particular period of time, and all they're looking to do, most of them, we're looking to go, right, I'll do my bit, I'll play my part. They're not coming in to be time wasters or anything. Sure, some people will be a bit like that, but most of your staff will probably be all right. They'll be reasonable about it, and they'll do their bit through the day. But don't expect them to be going out and overboard for no apparent reason. You'll need to sit there and be able to press the right buttons with people to get the most out of them. Now, some people, they might want to be pushing for a promotion. They might want to be pushing for, oh, can I get an early finish here, or I need a favour there, or something like that. Well, you need to be in the position where you understand what it is that's going to press those buttons for them. What are the buttons that you can press with that particular person that are going to get them to do what you want them to do? Now, this isn't manipulation, this isn't being out of order to them, this isn't any of those things. Sometimes it's just a simple bit of knowing what to say to get the right reaction from someone. And again, this comes down to the objectives of what you want them to do. It doesn't mean about being nasty to anybody or pressuring them or bullying them or anything like that. It just means about getting the right and best things out of someone. So I'll give you some examples. You might have someone who has said to you, look, I really want to get tickets for Glastonbury this year. Oh, boss, I've got my tickets for Glastonbury. I want to finish early for the year. Do you know what? I want these days off. And you're in a position where if you go straight away, yeah, you've got the days off, happy days. Fine. Now, what a good idea might be is, it's quite a tight road around there. A couple of other people have asked for the same thing. I need to sit there, I can only give certain person this. I need to base this on who's going to work the hardest. Look, tell you what, if you can meet these set objectives that I want you to go and do, look, I reckon I might be able to swing for something for you. But on the other hand, if you don't, then one of the others will have those days off. I can't give it to all of you. Now, the person who sits there and works really hard for it, bang, you know that when they want something, they're going to work hard for it. If there's something they want and you give them a kind of ultimatum, in essence, to be able to go and achieve that thing, then they'll sit there and work really, really hard to try and get that done. That's how you might get that out of them. Another example might be if they're trying to push for a promotion, for example, you need to give them set objectives, and you need them, they want to be a manager, they want to be an assistant manager, a team leader, something like that, and they're not particularly very good at managing people, or they don't want to do the management, or they're too matey with people. You need to give them set objectives to separate themselves from those people, position themselves correctly, if you like. Therefore, they're going to be more effective as a manager. If they're too friendly with all of the people around them, the same way that if you're too friendly with all the people that work for you, they're not going to respect you. You don't want to necessarily be on the same level. No matter who is working for you, you need a divide between you and them. But it's the same level, that's going to be a problem. Again, if you're incentivizing one of your staff, you need to make sure that they understand that you're developing them. Otherwise, they will not earn their promotion. You might also look at it where staff members have come to you looking for extra overtime. Great. If they want to have set overtime, you need to see a certain level of effort from them within their normal working hours. If you do that and you're thinking, yeah, they're going to get good value for money now, you're probably going to get good value for money for them when they're doing overtime. So it's a good idea to get to know the people that are working for you, get to know what they're about, get them to open up to you. Try a few different things and see what works for that person. If it works for that particular person, you'll know how to press certain buttons moving forward, or you'll know how to play it with that particular individual. The fourth and final thing that I wrote was politics. Now, a lot of people don't talk about politics when it comes to management. And if I'm being honest, when you start out in management, realistically, I didn't encounter politics for quite a while. But as soon as you start going up the ranks a little bit, and you get into middle management, then you start realising what politics are about. And middle management is really where you'll have managers or people in positions of responsibility who work for you. Now, most managers, you won't encounter this straight away, but inevitably, in a career in management, you will encounter politics at some point. It's a good idea to recognise them when you start out in management, because if you get it right early on when you start in management, you'll probably find it a lot easier as you progress in management. And this is making sure you keep the right people happy. How do your superiors like to be treated? Some of them, unfortunately, it might be a matter of brown-nosing them a bit. It might be a matter of buttering them up. It might be a matter of making sure that when you do set objectives, you recognise that their objectives probably come first. If they ask you to do something, you make sure it's done quickly for them. Little bits like this, basically keeping your superiors happy. Doesn't mean you have to be a complete brown nose or whatever. The nicest way, if you want your management career to go anywhere, it's probably a good idea early on to get and understand the rules of the game so you can play it correctly. If you then want to progress further on and you've kept the right people happy earlier in your career, they're probably going to recognise you as a good option to promote upwards within the business. And ultimately in management, in the nicest way, if you want to actually make any money, realistically at the bottom of management, in junior management level, you're very limited on what you'll do. You're limited on the amount of responsibility you'll have, you're limited on the amount of control you'll have, you're limited on the amount of influence that you'll have. But as soon as you go up into middle management and higher up in the ranks, you start to exert, be able to enforce more power, more influence to change things, more direction, have more decision-making abilities. And that's really the fun part of management. If you're a good manager, you'll understand how to play the game just as well with people that are more senior than you, as well as people that are more junior than you. Those are some of the basics of management, and certainly for me, the 4 things that I would say you need to recognise that perhaps they don't tell you or give you enough information on when you start out in management. Certainly as a junior manager, it's a bit of a minefield of information you need to know. If you can get the basics right, you understand what they're about, you can be more effective in your career as a manager. Now, if you like what you hear today, please put your comments in the boxes below. If you have anything you want to see from future videos, you disagree, you think there's any more additions we could have mentioned today, please put them in. I'd like to perhaps look at further videos in order to give more advice on basic management or further or more advanced management to people who want to watch subjects on this. So if there is anything that you want to learn, you want to know more about, please put in there below. Also, like what you've seen today, click the bell icon, follow us, subscribe to us. We're going to put out videos on weekly content.